Hi, and welcome to Cedar Weekly, home of innovation and creation, where you can tune in to read and listen to up and coming artists and entrepreneurs sharing about the future of art and business, while at the same time connect you with hundreds of individuals making a difference. Today, I'm here with Matthew Hahn, creator of Between2Clouds, a business that centers around building a community of creative individuals that can be shared all around the country through the lens of a few different platforms. So, first of all, welcome, Matthew. It's such a privilege to have you on the show.
What a privilege. It's very kind. Feels good
So,
to be here.
it's good to talk to you from afar. I know this is quite the connection. It's a bit meta here, but I wanted to start out by asking you to explain to the audience a little more about what you do and the different platforms that you host weekly.
Cool. So I think it's very much an ongoing and evolving process where we're adding more things. But the bits and pieces that we are currently doing is every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we do an event called Between Two Clouds to You, which is it's going to turn into this more and more as we can, but it's supposed to be kind of the encapsulation of all that Between Two Clouds is and the access to resources and artists and digital media, etc., all into one like bite-sized, intimate event. With intimacy being like the number one word for that event, it's supposed to be as intimate as possible. It's really hard to translate through video, but we try. So that's every Monday at 8 p.m. Every Friday, we started a thing called Club in the Clouds. It was something we were going to do in person in Raleigh, North Carolina, once a month, where it was going to be just giving people access to better club music, like music you can dance to, throw it back to if that's your jive,
Yeah.
and just do your thing. Uh, we don't consume a whole lot of drugs, I guess, within the project, but like still, drink on Friday nights. We're not like hardcore on it, but like have a party you can tune into.
Yeah.
That since it's COVID, etc., there's no safe way to do it. So that's a live stream as well. That happens on Beauty Studio happens on Facebook, but that's probably gonna change. Uh, Whereas Club in the Clouds happens on Mixcloud,
Hmm.
Mixcloud or Twitch, depending on if Mixcloud servers have been a little wacky, but it's really easy to access on our website. Yeah, if anybody listens to this, like, oh, I want to see that, between2clouds.com, look at the calendar, and we make it really easy. And then the other curation that we're doing officially right now is called Forward. Forward is really, really cool. Uh, so like Between Two Clouds is very much centered on music and art.
Hmm.
I like live music, we like live instrumentation in general, no DJs, etc. And then actually stand-up comedy as well. And then the art, we're still figuring out. We're messing around with. Forward, on the other hand, is very DJ centered. It could also be like live electronic stuff, but it has to be kind of DJ set format. And then it's also very visual heavy. It's quite a trip of an experience in terms of the visuals, and we're constantly trying to innovate ways that we can do it in a more interesting way. That's something that if we can financially make it work, we're going to turn into like a virtual reality or augmented reality experience.
Oh, cool.
I'm sure we'll maintain the 2D, but it just makes sense to do that. It's supposed to be this immersive experience of DJs playing really dope music. And DJs we book are awesome. Uh, Cade Bourne, who was studying, I can't remember the exact like academic phrasing, but studying for a PhD in studying how DJs work.
Wow.
Out of Duke University, he actually has like a year long, I don't know what they call it, program where they're paying for him to be in Tokyo and party uh, for academia. I don't understand it, but like this guy's great, and he directly works with me on that project, and he does the booking of the artists for the most part, or the DJs, and he's just phenomenal. So that project is awesome,
Wow.
and that's once a month right now on a Saturday. Next one is like December. I don't know, first week of December, the first Saturday,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's easy to find on the website if people want to tune into that. Also, live stream. Everything we do is live stream right now. It's just not smart to be in person. Those are the three official projects we're working on with Between Two Clouds right now. That's like public facing at least.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is a great job of explaining it. And I'm a big fan. I really love what you're doing. And I think specifically Between Two Clouds to You is a really cool for
Yeah,
anyone who's
dude.
interested in just, and I think you really do capture that intimate setting, um, which is a huge props to you guys about. But it's, yeah, you have a musician and a comedian, and it's a weekly gathering place kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Um,
hoping for it to be. It's very community feeling.
Yeah, a place you tune back into and feel part of. So your website, between2clouds.com, which I'll link below and in the transcript, explains Between Two Clouds by saying, through well-intentioned, high-quality
Hmm.
experiences, environments, and curation, our world can become a happier, dancier place. Eclectic art-fueled events, artist development, content, and fun of all kinds power this project. So what is the heart behind Between Two Clouds? What is the vision that kind of makes this a reality?
So I'm going to do the shortest version I can of this answer.
All right.
Because if I don't give you this answer, I'm not giving you the right answer, but it is long, but I'm going to give you a very short snippet. And then maybe later, another time and date, I could give you extended.
Okay,
Uh,
that sounds perfect.
yeah, so Between Two Clouds was originally my artist moniker. Like, if I made music and released it, it would be Between Two Clouds. The reason why it's Between Two Clouds is because my background is I'm like a case study for mental health. Uh, I was like just man, I was about to use a lot of profanity. I was screwed as a kid.
Hmm.
I got parents who are incredibly unconscious, unaware, very hate filled, very nasty people. I think they were well intended, but it's just like they just didn't understand. My bad. You could bleep that. Yeah,
There's a
just
swear
bleep it.
jar.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's just this is so Nate.
You're fine. No worries. Yeah.
I tried, man. We got
No.
through 3 minutes. That's
Yeah,
maybe a
you're
record for
doing
me.
well so far.
So, so I just got like completely screwed mentally since I was a kid. Like that, I don't want to get too graphic, but a good example, one of the more lighthearted examples, was like I would literally get so frustrated. I would punch myself in the face until I was blacking out in front of my parents, and I was only a kid. I don't know, maybe
Wow.
12 or something, and they would laugh at me. So my entrance into the world was complete crap. With complete crap people. The opportunities I got were complete crap. It was not good. And then also like, dude, when you're a white dude who looks seemingly healthy, etc., and the whole world tells you you're okay, and it's just like, oh, it's normal stuff. But then you actually hear about how even people in poverty, how their parents treat them. It's like, you know, it's hard to make that association and not feel weird about it. And it took me a long time to realize, like, oh no, that was a pretty bad entrance into the world.
Hmm.
And so mental health issues ensued. I was at my lowest point. I was 22, pretty heavy CPTSD, uh, pretty severe depression since I was a kid. I mean, suicidal thoughts since I was a kid. I mean, not suicidal thoughts, a couple of attempts every day. That was like my warm spot in life, was thinking about I could kill myself. It was just bad mental health stuff up until my adult life, well past when people were like getting out of college, and I was, academically gifted too. So it's just a whole lot of things in there that, anyway, so dark, just straight darkness. And then there's a period of time where just these small changes happen that gave me an opportunity to heal a little bit. And, I just pushed and pushed and pushed and somehow, made it out mostly alone. And then a good friend of mine came along pretty early, Daniel, or I would say I was already really heading in a good direction. And I was in poverty, barely able to afford much of anything. Um, Still a sweet person during that period of time.
Mm.
And for whatever reason, I just, like, I would sing behind the steering wheel. It was the only place I feel safe to like express anything. I was even unable to speak up. I was 22 at this point. Now my job is to throw parties. It's a weird life, but it would be like I'd be afraid to say anything to anybody about anything, and then I would sing behind the steering wheel, but I wouldn't even hear. If I heard myself, I would get uncomfortable and shut it off. So I'd be blasting the music, doing that. Well, over a period of time, apparently I got decent. So Daniel was pursuing being a rapper. Uh, he asked me to. I mentioned that I might be able to sing. He asked me to come to the studio with him. Went to the studio with him. Turns out I could sing decently.
Mm.
So started pursuing that, and it was like the first time I got validated for something that wasn't just pure academics.
Yeah.
Something that was more social, more expressive, a little bit more, visceral.
Hmm.
And I shouldn't get validated often in general, honestly. So I was like, this is cool. I want to pursue this a little bit more. This feels good. I never thought I'd do anything musically.
Yeah.
Um, so I got like teaching lessons and all this stuff. And very early on, I was pretty sold on pursuing something in this direction. And I was looking for an artist moniker. And a series of events happened during this period of time where I did a lot of big boy things. I bought myself a plane ticket to go see friends. I think the plane ticket was like $142 round trip because a friend hooked me up and worked for the airport, etc. I only had maybe $300 in my name in general. So it was big risks, but I never bought myself things or took risks like that. So that was like a massive thing for me, just buying a plane ticket when you're like 23, 24. It's crazy. Went on this trip. Their family was wonderful. The moment I stepped into their house was the first time I saw and felt like what family felt like that feeling, that comfort, that warmth of like, oh, these people got me. Oh, I'm safe here. I don't have to worry about, am I going to be able to eat? Am I going to need to protect myself? And I didn't realize that it was the first time in my life that I really felt that. And again, 23, it's pretty late on that one, especially when I didn't have enough awareness to know how messed up I was and know how broken I was. And I always thought I was a loser because it was my fault. So it was just a lot to take in that moment where it's like I got treated like a person that cared about me. So I had this weekend with them that was phenomenal. It was just so beautiful. They treated me so well, and it very much allowed me to relax. Maybe the first time ever, and open up a little bit mentally. So on the plane ride back, I was just thinking, positive thoughts, which maybe the first time ever as well. Yeah. Maybe the first time in my life I didn't pretty much assume that I was just going to kill myself at some point. And since I was like 10, I pretty much, my whole life was like, oh, at some point I'm going to kill myself. I don't have to really worry about anything. At some point I'm just going to end it. And the times I tried, it just didn't work out. And this is maybe the first time where I was like, oh, my life could look like something else. It could feel like that more. How do I create that feeling of, warmth and family, et cetera, in my own life? So anyways, plane trip back, I look out the window. This is turning time. I'm looking for an artist moniker, and I promise y'all, dude, anybody listening to this, I do not exaggerate. So when I say this is how it looked. Okay, I wasn't hallucinating. I hadn't done LSD at that point. Nothing. I barely even drank at that point. Like literally perfectly shaped pillows as far as you could see. Maybe like the plane was equidistant between these massive, massive clouds, and it was super bright too. It wasn't like looked like rain clouds, but I mean, I guess they're all rain clouds, right? But white, fluffy pillows, perfectly shaped, perfect at the corners. I mean, it was just beautiful, and light was shining through each corner. And then the further out you went, the more they broke up, and there's just light just blasting through. It's like, dude, if heaven could look like something, if the airport of heaven could look like something, or the runway, it might, because it was so beautiful that I was just like this for, I don't even know how long. Time was irrelevant at that point. But at some point, I was like, I need to get a picture of this. This is crazy. Like normal stuff, right? Normal human stuff. Take a picture of this pretty thing. I go to my phone. My phone's dead. Immediately, I'm like in my head, like, yeah, you loser. Of course your phone will be dead. You lose. Like immediately, same old stuff. So then I had the daunting task of asking somebody else if I could use their camera or asking for a picture. And for me in that period of life, that was a scary thought. Yeah. So I went to like muster up the courage to ask somebody to use their camera or their phone, whatever. And I looked around and people were disinterested in what I had seen and showed no value towards it. And people were closing their windows, and it was just, nobody had the awe or level of excitement I did towards this mind-blowing thing. I don't know how many Photoshop pictures I've seen as pretty as this thing that was literally right there and staying there. It was there for half an hour, 45 minutes. So, meanwhile, I'm losing my mind. So in that moment, something clicked, and two things happened. One is I looked around, I realized, oh, I always just assumed everybody knew what was going on because I was such just socially a loser, societally a loser. And not a loser, I was a sweet guy. Just couldn't function, but I always assumed everybody else knew what was going on. They were right. They had it figured out, blah, 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 blah. But then I realized in that moment, I'm like, dude, there's something they don't have figured out. And right now, this is everything to me. So whatever my world is and whatever I am, they don't understand. And even the beauty that I was able to see. So there's a moment of like, oh crap, maybe I do have something to offer. And then the next thing that happened was just this flush of ideas and thoughts and in abstract ways of what my life could look like, what I wanted to do with my life. And it was the first time I was like, I don't know, I had an idea and a direction to go in. So without going too deep into that.
Yeah, that's where the name came from.
Right. Well, I was thinking on it and I was like, whatever this cloud formation is, it must have a name. Whatever that is, that'll be my artist moniker. That's the name.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked and posted on forums and looked, and I had a friend who was a pilot and asked him to ask other people, and nobody had a name for this thing. There was no answer. And then I got to a point, I'm like, it sucked. I couldn't find a name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, of all things, just have something so I could use that thing.
Yeah.
That means so much to me in this moment. And then when I realized there was no name, I considered that in that moment when all those things happened, I was between two clouds.
Mm.
Since then, has been a lot of stories, a lot of fun times, a lot of healing, a lot of LSD. Not much anymore, almost never anymore. But there was a period of time, a lot of festivals and meeting people and doing things and trying things out and writing in journals and getting into poetry and producing and hip hop and singing and so on and so forth and DJing and traveling. A bunch of stuff. I stopped talking to my family. I don't talk to really anybody in my family. My aunt maybe once a year or something like that. That's about it. There's tons of healing, tons of experiences, and I made music and I was DJing under the moniker. But then there was a certain point where I started an event, which is now Between Two Clouds to You, and I don't want to say it's mostly luck. I had a good vision in my head when we first started, but we hit it out of the park the first one. It was not a process. I mean, by the eighth one, we had 90 people showing up to a house on a Monday night with like an entire list of comics that like performed at the local comedy club. It's like a good comedy club, including the manager of the comedy club. That was within 8 events, never doing events before, being new to the area. I mean, and it didn't start slow either. We booked incredible artists from the get-go. A lot of it was luck, just people that were nice to me. I was like, oh, you want to do this thing? Mm-hmm. And the stream quality has certainly improved. Mm-hmm. We started out a really crappy little camera, just a random microphone through a Scarlett 212 interface. Yes, things have changed. And as it grew, it was called Between Two Clouds. Between Two Clouds is like I owned a comedy night. Mm-hmm. Then after the fourth one, I was like, let's change it Between Two Clouds to You, because it's like everything Between Two Clouds is in one event, and that all the ideas are in my head. And then over time, I was learning about myself and what really occurred, what those visions were. And then at some point, I realized like I don't want to call them visions because then it gets in that weird space. Things that nice ideas. Uh-huh. What those nice ideas were. Yeah. So I realized they weren't just for me, that those ideas could be for everybody. If everybody had access to those feelings and spaces that, what could the world look like? Certainly a lot different than it is right now. So over time, as I learned that and I matured and grew, I realized Between Two Clouds wasn't for me either. Mm-hmm. So it changed from my artist moniker into the brand, which just represents the idea. And now like my artist moniker is just the number 2, for a lot of reasons. I don't want to go into it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing so much of the backstory behind that, and it's a very personal story to you, obviously.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I'm curious then, because Between Two Clouds was very much your personal vision, to use that word again. But
your word, not mine.
What'd you say?
I said your word, not mine. I mean, it was mine too, but
yeah, okay, we won't go there. No, but you really took this idea and you've made it into like this is a big deal. Like you guys are really making this happen. So how did that process transform? How did it go from being an individual vision to being a vision that was shared between multiple people?
And you don't mean just on purpose. Like, how did it play out, even if we didn't mean for it to, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, some of these things when you're building a business, they just happen. It's not like
Right.
you always lay the groundwork for everything.
So we, I would say because most of the reality is most of Between Two Clouds and the ideas are very much from my head, and then I have a team that helps me. I now have a team that helps me.
Hmm.
And then people who are around very early, Nicolette, who does all this art behind you is Nicolette. And
Hmm.
she's only done this for like a year and a half.
Wow.
She might be a genius, dude. She's the one that handles like all our visuals. Anything visual sees Nicolette Leibowitz. She's a very close friend of mine. We've like lived together for now almost 4 years now.
Hmm.
Um, so she was around from the beginning, and she did a few things. It was mostly her just helping take tickets to the door type thing, or just be there to support it, help make food and stuff.
Hmm.
And then over time, that role grew extensively, and now she's a totally vital part of it. So like the team grew over time, but the high majority of it was just me, and then friends helping a little bit. Daniel as well has been there since the beginning, both actually financially a bit, and then helping with the events and helping with ideas and just feedback, and now way more vital role. But the team developed and grew a little bit by a little bit.
Yeah.
But what's important in this context of what you asked is I didn't know what I was doing at any point. I'm just now starting to get an idea of what I'm doing with all this. We just started with, okay, this is like TMI, and I don't want to take it the wrong way, but I went to the comedy club downtown,
Uh-huh.
and we all put our names in to do the open mics. I think we're all relatively funny. Not
Hmm.
Daniel. Daniel is the worst. But Nicola is insanely funny.
Uh-huh.
I'm okay-ish. So we all put our names in the hats. Nicolette got picked. Nicolette crushed it. I mean, she crushed so hard. The people after her bombed, and she'd never done comedy before. It was like at the comedy club in Good Nights in Raleigh.
Wow.
And so I'm like, that's cool. They didn't pick us this time. They'll pick us next time. We go again. Nicolette gets picked again. We don't get picked. So it's like, okay, numbers wise, there's something fishy going on. I'm like, this is sexist. I don't like it. I'm worthy of a shot too. And but I wasn't like fully like mentally psychotic about it by any means. So I was like, I'll do my own comedy show, and then I don't have to worry about anybody picking me. So we put together this thing where I'm like, oh, let's throw some ideas together. This would be a cool idea. That'd be a cool idea. And it built on itself. I'm like, oh, I'll live stream it so my friends can tune in because we're still in a new area. We
Hmm.
live deep in the forest of Wake Forest, which is like 45 minutes north of Raleigh. So it's not even the central area. Uh, there's this little house tucked away. So it was 20 people showed up, something like that. I had a really cool friend play saxophone, do live looping and stuff, and that was beautiful. The comedians were Daniel, me, and Nicolette. Nicolette crushed. We did not. We are not funny. But it was something, We had like 10, 15 friends tune in.
Uh-huh.
Other people saw it later. Uh, and then, we had a friend that was a chef come and make food. So it was like
Wow.
this thing where I made this vegan food. And it was part of the event was the chef coming in and making the food. And we all did it for free, made the event free just because we were just, I don't know, just doing something, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but then after the first one, we were like, that was really cool. Uh, almost stumbling into it, but like I picked all the ideas out. So it wasn't like random stuff that happened, but at the same time, I had no concept that it would be on that, I guess, level of potency.
Hmm.
It was such a good time. The community feeling was such a good time. And art's always been involved, like the visual art. And the second time was like, let's tweak it a little bit and see what it is. And we committed to doing 4 of them in a row every week, which I did not realize how much of a burden that was. But
Mm.
we got a different artist every week. We improved every week. The comedians we got improved over time. And then after the 4th one, we took a month off to figure out what it was. And we're like, yeah, let's pursue this a little bit. Let's see what happens. We didn't know any better. We didn't know about I didn't know about people as much, how things worked, how money worked, how people are with tickets, etc. Like I had no idea. Anything I know about any of this business now is purely from just doing it, not being taught much ever. Uh, so anyways, it grew. By the 8th one, it blew up. Uh, I had venues reaching out for me to bring it into their venues. I think the 13th, I don't know, it doesn't matter. We did like 15, we had to pause because of a bunch of stuff. I went through heavy, heavy stuff, both financially,
Hmm.
mentally, etc. Uh, And then we broke off, and this is like kind of which starts to make sense. We broke off and just did a comedy show because we got offered the space somebody I talked to previously about using it as a venue for B2CDU, for Between2Clouds. And she asked if we want to do a comedy show. So we did it. It really, really sucked at first. I think 8 people showed up, and it was terrible. The second one, I think 30 people showed up. And then by the time the following January came around, we were selling it out with like 150, 175 people. It grew, and we did it once a month, and it just crushed. It was right before COVID when it, but yeah, and then over time I tried other event concepts out, and it all spawned off of little bits and pieces of Between2Clouds to you. And then I brought that back at a certain point. Now it's back for the third time. It should stick this time.
Yeah.
But it's just like trying stuff out. I talked to different venues. Hey, can I do an art gallery here? I want to do some weird take on an art gallery. So I did a thing called Art Venture, where it's like you go through this space, kind of like a haunted house, but instead of like stuff to scare you, it would be different art installations and different artists. So, and that was awesome. There's a place called the Outpost, and then at the end you had music, and it was really bright lights. It was like kind of a social gathering party kind of thing. I just tried different stuff out, stuff that came to mind, and stuff I could make work financially. And did a hip hop show once. It was awesome. We've done like I think I've done like 70 or 80 events now. Some parties. Did like a 12-hour in the woods rave. That was awesome. More wholesome than you would ever imagine, but still such a good party. I've been doing this thing called Oasis, which is a super invite only thing that I do deep in the woods in some private land. That is pretty awesome. So whenever I announce, if I ever announce Oasis and I make the Oasis, I'm like, hey, some people can sign up to try to get in to do that. You take full use of that. I will not say anything more about that project. It's beautiful. I don't know. We just tried different stuff out, and it grew over time. And because of the intentions were always really solid, we were all artists. We never really thought it would make that much money. We knew it could. We didn't know how to. So it was always just us trying to have a good time. So people joined up and wanted to be involved and really believed in it. And
so I know for a lot of people, maybe in the position that you were, a few years back of kind of starting this out, find it really difficult to take those steps to make that a reality, to just throw things on the wall and say, we're going to do this regardless of whether it fails or it's a success. Where did, what advice would you give to people who find themselves in that position of wanting to make their ideas a reality, but it's hard, to make that jump?
I think the biggest misconception that I was putting on myself, which if you can avoid this, you can do it, is trying to make it too big too quick. You don't need to do that much. Like if you have an idea and you want to start a company, and seriously, like this is the realest thing. If you really want to do something the right way and you don't have the resources or the backing or the childhood or the whatever, don't try to do too much at once. You're not going to be a millionaire overnight, dude. You need to build, you have to learn how stuff works, not how they teach you in school how it works, like how it actually works. The human component of it, the unpredictable nature and emotional nature of humans, and the fact that people don't care if you're a good person unless it suits them and it's convenient. People don't care you have a good idea unless it really suits them. And it doesn't matter how good you are at business, etc. In theory, you have to learn that stuff firsthand to really do it. Anyways, don't make it too big too quickly. Let's say you I want to get into music venues. That's something that I want to totally reconfigure. Whenever I get the funds to make music venues, there will be nothing else like it on the planet. Not even unless there's ones I don't know about, right? I'm sure there's some cool ones that need to know basis. But I want to get into really designing music venues and owning those and running those and just doing things totally different. Let's say you wanted to own music venues. That's your thing. You don't need to find a place to rent. Just throw shows out of your apartment. Now, COVID, don't do this. But live stream it in. Make a live stream show. It's free. Ask artists that they want to perform anyways. Be like, if you have a little bit of money, send them, dude. $20 will go a long way. If you're like, hey, I'm poor. I could give you $20 to do this. And just do something consistently and just try stuff out and just experiment. You don't have to do anything crazy. Everybody has a phone, dude. Somebody stick your phone down get an artist, record it, and then make a Facebook page. You don't need to just jump into renting a space. Just
Mm-hmm.
start with what you have. Do not, you have, dude, we all have cell phones, internet connection, almost all of us.
Yeah.
Even people in poverty, dude, they
Yeah.
like
So true.
start small, do it for the right reasons. Don't work with people that suck. Look at how people treat each other. Don't worry if people show they don't treat people well. Don't be around those people, man. Or be totally blind to it. Pick one or the other. You can't be aware of it and continue.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just start small. Anything you do, start small, and then just work your way up. Like, take the opportunities that come. A bar is going to ask you, "Hey, man, I see this cool thing you do. I see that you have 20 people tune in. And are they local? Oh, how about you come on a Wednesday night
Mm.
once a month and do this thing?" And even though, let's say your idea is grand, you want to have a beautiful venue and book whoever you want across the world, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Start small because you'll actually understand what you're doing then. If you
Yeah.
start too big, you're not really going to understand the puzzle pieces. You're going to have to always hire people to do stuff, and you're going to have to get copy people. You're never going to be able to innovate and do your own things. You don't understand the bare bones of it, and that's just providing entertainment. If you're doing a music venue, or providing a
Yeah.
place for art, just small, 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 small. Do what you can. Take the next step. Don't take too many steps at once.
Wow. That's excellent advice. I really appreciate you sharing that. Um, Another thing I'm curious about is we were talking earlier about you building this company, business, however you want to look at it, from a very kind of personal moniker where Between Two Clouds was your DJ name, and then it developed into this community. So how do you feel like letting go of that personal aspect of Between Two Clouds has allowed it to become even a fuller reality, a more collaborative process than perhaps it ever could have been as a singular project?
I think there's a bunch there. Um, I think the first thing to touch on that is like the very yogic nature of non-attachment is quite important.
Mm.
Yogic nature. I don't know words. Uh, but letting go of that is something that's dear to me and dear for beautiful reasons. It's not like dear in a weird, controlling, manipulating way. It's like, this is my hope in the world,
Mm-hmm.
It isn't a passive thing that I ultimately gave away. Uh, but it was important to do that because I was attaching my value to it. So it was great. And if it was just me the whole time, it would have still been good. But the fact that I was attaching my own personal value to it meant that I couldn't look at it as its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't look at it as its own entity. It's like, what's the best thing I can do for this child, essentially, which is, Between Two Clouds is a living, breathing thing at this point.
Yeah.
People care about it like they care about a person or a friend
Mm-hmm.
or, a neighbor they really enjoy. And, how can I water this garden and water myself at the same time? It's like we need different water, we need different nutrients. So that separation, and this is upon reflection. During it, I kind of felt that I knew something had to change. I didn't know what, but
Yeah.
it became clear at a certain point.
Yeah.
And there's another thing too, is people are egotistical, dude. Like, this is something people, if you want to be successful, dude, you need to understand how arrogant people are. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care if people think they're nice and whatever. People are self-centered, dude, and they're focused on them and theirs.
Mm-hmm.
This is okay though. There's nothing wrong with it. That's just the nature of things. Now, some people really do care about others, and those people should be applauded and supported, etc. I consider myself one of those people. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Not my place to decide. I don't think.
Mm.
Um, but it's important to know that people are self-centered because they don't want to look at something and acknowledge that it is from one person.
Mm.
Like, the project is beautiful, and they wanted
Makes
to.
it competitive.
Yeah, it's like it's you're stepping on their value. The reality is the reason why it was so beautiful for a long time, for 90% of its lifespan, me, my efforts. That's reality.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody wants to hear that. It's arrogant, it's pompous, it's this. They'll write it off. They won't be like, oh, this person like sacrificed and
Mm-hmm.
had good ideas and is somebody that might be beautiful and it's a reflection of them. And that's the reality of what it was. And
Mm-hmm.
then also like my beautiful connections with like the artists and stuff and the comedians, like I consider most of them friends. So it's not like this thing where I was just booking. I really care about how they're doing. I could try to pay them well. I could really try to treat them well.
Yeah.
But nobody cares about that, especially when it's coming from a central place, because they're always going to try to pull that down, dude. People are always going to try to dethrone the king
Mm-hmm.
unless they don't feel threatened by that person, or they feel like that person would never say anything bad to them or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is something I could go into a lot more, but it's like, I don't know. That's not where this interview's at, right? So what's important to know about that is, in the context of this, is when I separated it, I made it very clear Between2Clouds was not me. It was an art project of mine. There was a team behind it with a bunch of people's ideas filtering through it. And now it's very much that. It's no longer just my ideas. It is three other people actively, three people in-house actively pushing their ideas through it. I'm curating and making sure it fits and stuff. But it was important to do that purely so people experiencing it didn't have like weird conceptions of what was going on. Dude,
Yeah.
we've been called a cult so many times. It's ridiculous because we were giving out free healthy food. There's no weird sex stuff happening behind the scenes. There's no weird manipulations happening. Like, all these people are wonderful people, but because of they couldn't place it somewhere. Like, how could
Mm.
something function this way and claim to be functioning this way when there's like one figurehead and that guy is shaved head? And even though the shaved head thing is purely because I had a vanity towards my hair, so I didn't want to perpetuate that cycle of being vain. But nobody asks, right? They just say stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was important to make that distinction so that people could feel comfortable with it and safe with it, and they could support something where they didn't feel like they're supporting a person, they're supporting an idea. People who feel way more comfortable supporting ideas than they do people.
Yeah.
Like, even in people, they support the idea of somebody versus them actually being a person. So that allowed for people to integrate themselves in the project way more, contribute to it way more, feel good about it, and also take ownership of it for themselves. Like, oh, I'm a part of this. And so they felt like at home with it. And that was really important, and stuff I didn't understand at the time.
Mm-hmm.
As well as me personally, I needed to stop thinking my only value in the world was this project.
Mm.
And help me to like look at myself in the mirror a lot and be like, you have value outside of this, And
Yeah.
it's taken a long time. With my background, obviously, self-worth is
Difficult.
a tough one.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. And I think at the end of the day, we're all humans, and
Yeah.
there's we all have flaws. And so if you're building it truly this big grand vision, then if you're basing it off of yourself, there's only so far you
Correct.
can go,
Correct.
until you reach your own limitations and your own
Mm-hmm.
flaws. And especially if it's going to be something that you're building for the world or the country or however you want to look at
Right.
it, if you're limiting it by yourself, then there's always going to be a wall you're going to run up against, and you can only go
Yeah.
so far. But letting go of that and being, you don't want to just take your vision and throw it to the dogs, and let it become whatever. But at the
Right.
same time, you don't want to strangle it so much that it loses the life that it could have in the hands of other people.
Yeah. And also, as well as like hiring somebody, I cannot pay. We're in the art industry. I can't
Mm-hmm.
pay people what they're worth.
Yeah, yeah.
We wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't be able to eat otherwise.
You're not
Like,
a corporate environment.
yeah, dude. We only like work with people we actually think care at
Mm-hmm.
all. So that cuts out a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's a situation where people have to really be able to feel safe and comfortable with the idea, and you know see that there's a big separation between me and the project, and that I do give a lot of freedoms in those spaces, and it is influenced by a lot of other people, and there's other people involved. So maybe I'm not their cup of tea, but maybe somebody else on the team is their cup of tea, so they can trust it more because they see it as very much this. There's so many things. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to take a little break from the discussion and kind of do one thing I like to do with all my guests as an impromptu rapid fire question round,
Yeah.
if you're cool with that.
Yeah.
So there's just 10 of these, and they're kind of random all over the place. But yeah, just spur of the moment, whatever first comes to mind, just to get to know you a little bit better and have a little fun. So, first one is, what's one thing most people don't know about you?
There's so many things. So I am typically extremely stoic.
Hmm.
Uh, Normally, and I think I've had to become that way, but I am a nut job. Like, and not in a bad way, but I'm like super quirky.
Uh-huh.
I'm learning it more and more. I don't want to say a girl I've been seeing is, I think, more significant than that. Somebody that I've been spending my time with.
Hmm.
And so I've seen more parts of myself unload. Dude, I'm a weird person. I am weird. I have a lot of quirks. My personality gets very quirky. So not many people really know how off the wall I get.
Awesome. Yeah, you see that mirrored in other people in a relationship. um,
Yeah,
um, what
she
are
validates it.
yeah, yeah. What are three things that you can't live without?
Mm, honesty. Number one, I've realized I got to be honest and speak up about it.
Hmm.
Or else I just can't think straight. At this point, coffee. I just look forward to it, dude. That grimy. I don't even know if I like the caffeine.
Yeah.
Like
Just the
it's
ritual.
grimy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this makes me grounded. This makes me an animal. Look at that dirtiness in your mouth. I don't know. I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm so serious too.
Yeah.
And the third thing I can't live without, I would say, good music, man. Like having access to like play a good song when the time hits. You're driving, it's beautiful outside, etc. And you have that new Disclosure album. That new Disclosure album. Oh my God. Energy by Disclosure. Oh my goodness, listen to that album.
Shout
But if you
out.
don't have, oh yes, I have. If you don't have like that album to pop in, just be vibing to. I just need that. It gives me
Yeah.
the hope in the days, you know.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever heard, just off the top of your head?
The best piece, I don't know if I can give you the best piece. That's a lot to take on.
Sure. Just
Uh,
a good piece
I,
of advice.
there's one recently that pops in my head just because it's a local guy. He's good people. His name is Joe Bell.
Mm.
He runs a thing called Sugar Society, Disco Donnie, I think he's involved with. And more importantly, uh, is one of the founders of Maison Fauna, which is an incredible music label that just had their first release, which is nuts. And they're
Mm.
actually in town. They're down the street. They're friends of mine. They're awesome
Wow.
people. They're wonderful, wonderful people. Even if they never like work with me on anything, man, they're the best. So Mason Fauna, Morning Choir, they're groups that do music stuff in Durham, North Carolina, and not just here. Well, anyways, Joe's very pinpoint with what he says.
Mm.
Which I need to learn from him heavily. This is
Mm.
somebody that has a lot of things down pat. And one of the things he said 4 or 5 times when I've been in the area, so I don't know if he's just saying it directly to me because I don't know how often he just repeats the same quote. He's not
Yeah.
somebody that talks a lot like that.
Yeah.
Is if you know anybody that doesn't like you, you know too many people. This is a quote that I ponder on constantly now because it is so good. The more you unpack that, the more value is to it. I'll say it again in case I said it wrong. If you know anybody that doesn't like you, you know too many people. It's just so good. My take from it is personally, I think most people that know me like me and hold me in high regard. There's quite a few people that do not. I'm not their cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those people can suck it. Other people may be valid, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I have flaws. But there's enough people that don't like me that has impacted the project. And the things that have impacted most are people that don't like me, but don't know anything about me. They have no context. And
Mm.
typically those are people that did bad things. And I just happen to be like, yo, that's bad. Like, treat people better.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow that has impacted what I do and made them not like me, etc. But it's something that I've noticed is a massive thing in terms of limitations we've had. It's not that big of limitations. Most of what we do has been quite successful. So I'm not saying it's like it's a very minute thing, but it is something. And honestly, if I didn't expose myself to so many people, that would never have occurred.
Mm. That's interesting. Yeah, I'll have to think about that one and process
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe yourself in 3 words? It's always a challenge, fun one.
Honest, slash trustworthy. Let's put that in one. Like right there, you could genuinely trust me with whatever. Um, even own up if I make a mistake.
Mm.
The second one I would say broken.
Mm.
I am trudging through.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, I want to say, like, I really believe in what I do. I don't know what the term would be.
Yeah,
Very passionate.
passionate. Yeah.
Yeah, very passionate and very serious about what I do. Very deliberate. Like,
Mm.
that can be combined in one word.
Yeah. Awesome. That's a great way to be able to describe yourself. Um, if you could handpick any two guests for Between Two Clouds to you, a comedian and a musician, who would you choose?
Comedian would be James Acaster out of
Yeah.
the UK
Yeah.
every time. There's so many more I want to book to, but if I could do that, I'll cry. I'm gonna cry on the stream. I'm gonna cry, touch myself, hide in a corner, even while I'm hosting, dude. So that's first one. Second, for a musician, that's tough. I don't know how we would turn this, how we'd manage this based on what they do, but Basement Jacks. So it's actually also UK people.
Mm.
But My Turn by Basement Jacks is the song that turned me on to music. I didn't really listen to music like that until I heard that song. And I listened to it like 100 times in a row, and I still listen to it.
I'll have to check that one out. I haven't heard of that.
Check out Basement Jacks. That is a very specific artist group. They had an entire house music, electronic album remixed by an orchestra, by like an international orchestra. It's called the Metropole Orchestra. Dude, they're such an amazing group. Two guys.
I'll have to check them out. If you had unlimited money, as we all wish we did, maybe, what would be one thing you'd add to Between Two Clouds?
I would hire the best lighting person in the world to come and get our lighting right.
Nice. If you could take a month off work with no consequences, what would you do to relax and refresh yourself?
What would I do to relax and refresh myself? So, due to the nature of how corny this is, and the fact that she has entered this room, I'm not going to go in detail on this one. I would go travel. Well, if COVID wasn't a thing, go travel, maybe like somewhere like really bougie. I mean, like, you're saying no money limits either, right?
Yeah, no consequences.
You do it, whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, it would be me and the boo, going to like Bora Bora or something like that. Like something like just bougie white.
Super.
I mean, no problems. Somebody comes and hands you stuff you want. You just yell at them. I'm not going to participate in that. I'm saying you could.
Yeah.
Something like totally. Now I get bored of that, dude. I would start there and then I'd fly somewhere else, man. I would get bored of that within a few days. I don't know. I would start there and have no plans after that. That's what I would do.
Someone with no cares.
Yeah.
Awesome. If you could fix with the snap of your fingers one shortcoming of American society or culture, what would you change?
Oh. This is something I just understand more. I don't think this is the most pressing thing. The music industry, in terms of who gets platformed, the artists that people get exposed to are absolute dog compared to what's out there. There are artists, there are rappers, hip hop artists, etc. It's like the fact that Drake, etc. is like that's the top thing people listen to.
Yeah.
Crap, total crap compared to what's out there. So if the platforming of what artists become popular and get pushed by the media, the marketing giants, if those were artists that actually cared, that weren't just in it for their own ego, that Drake's a loser. He's a loser. Everybody looks up to a loser. Like L on his forehead, loser. This is a guy that, dude, he was watching like the NBA finals or something, and he had a very specific team he was rooting for. He changed jerseys afterwards and went and hung out in the other locker room because the other team won. Loser, dude. I don't mess with that, man. Stand for something. Do something with your time. Do something positive, man. He's a millionaire, multi-millionaire, but he's making diss tracks against people like Eminem too, dude. In your 50s, dude, go on a beach somewhere. Why are you spending your time making a diss track? You got a child, dude. Loser. So it's like those are the people that people push. He talks about raping people in his music. Like, what do y'all want the world to be like? Like,
Yeah.
there's artists out here who are not doing that. Have you ever heard of like Saba,
Mm.
Smino? I mean, like there's so many artists people could be listening to, but they don't. And artists that people have no idea about. So if that process was significantly different, where they weren't just pushing out whoever's the most marketable, they're pushing out like people that care more, that their impact in the world to be more. That
Yeah.
if they became rich, oh my God, they'd be doing whatever they could to support others. Like Beyonce is not it, dude. Taylor Swift's not it. These are not it people.
Yeah.
But put other artists in positions that they're in with their, wealth, access to resources, etc. You'll see a distinct difference in American society and the world instantly.
Yeah. Wow. That's a can of worms you just opened. I would love to dive into that for
Yeah,
hours.
I
But
hope some people comment on
yeah.
this, like, oh, how dare you
Yeah.
say that? It's like, yo, we could talk about
Yeah. No, yeah, I jive on that level. um,
it.
if Between Two Clouds were an app, what sort of features would it have?
Man, that's a good question. Dude, okay, so one thing, and I'm really trying to work on this. Don't hold me to my word. I'm trying, y'all. A place they could go and talk to somebody who's just gonna listen.
Hmm.
Like they could just text this number and like anything they need to talk about, anything. It's totally confidential, will not be released anywhere. It'll get totally deleted, all that stuff. And there will absolutely be somebody on the other end that will listen and say things such as, okay, that's crazy. Wow. How do you feel about that? Like simple
Hmm.
stuff.
Just to
Somebody that's
listen.
actually read it, just so they know somebody on the planet has heard them.
Hmm.
That would impact people so much. And that's something that I truly want to do when the time is right and we can do that properly, because it's a very sensitive area and there's a lot to think about when it comes to that. So that's one feature it would absolutely have, is just that immediate, you click this thing, boom, you got somebody you can trust is just listening.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. That's really cool. Lastly, is the question, what advice would you give to someone who looks up to you?
Except to me, like me specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know if I recommend that, but okay, is it a misnomer? I don't know word's good. What is a misnomer?
It's like something that is a one-off, like something that
I'm glad you're educated or something. I don't know.
I think that's what it means.
There's like
I'm
little
gonna look it up after this and be like, no, that's totally wrong.
there's like these little cliche things people say that are absolutely right, but the
Mm.
context they say them in and how they mean them is so wrong. The understanding is so wrong. So when people are like, oh, the answer to your social issues is just be yourself,
Mm.
like go in the dating world, just be yourself. It's like that's terrible advice. It depends on what your goals are.
Yeah.
If you want to go out and like somebody want you to take them home that night, or vice versa,
Yeah.
uh, being yourself is not the most effective way. Yourself is flawed.
Uh-huh.
Yourself
Yeah.
has some ugly sides.
Yeah.
Yourself is real
Yeah.
with real
That's
traumas and real stuff. Being yourself works in a very specific way. Now, this is where the advice that I say comes in.
mm.
Man, I can't use profanity. So, absolutely be yourself, but actually yourself,
Mm.
dude. I promise, man. Well, unless like you just get off on hurting animals or hurting people or something, then don't be yourself. Be somebody else.
Mm.
Somebody else is definitely better.
Change.
Yeah, if you can't change, dude, just copy and paste. Look up Mr. Rogers. Somebody be like, yeah, I'm gonna literally copy him,
Mm.
like word for word. Yeah,
Yeah.
if yourself sucks, don't be it. But if yourself isn't built to like hurt people, you're just like trying. Actually be yourself. Actually try things. And how you be yourself is by putting yourself in different circumstances and figuring out what self is. If
Mm.
you do the same thing every day, you're in the same environments, you're in the same everything, most of what you think you are is just your environment. Put yourself in different environments. Try new things. Don't just like be like, oh, I'm going to try hip hop today. Like go to a concert, talk to people that do it, like expose yourself and see where you're actually at in the equation, because you're in everything that you experience. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to experience as much as you can. That's not like doing it just for the thrill of it. You don't have to sleep with everybody. You don't have to like everybody. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to experience everything. You don't have to like everything, but try some stuff out, especially if it's in, safe environments and stuff, uh, just to see where you're at. And then as you figure out where you're at, be that thing. Mm.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she's making me lift the laptop to put a pillow on it because she's worried about me. Aren't you sweet? Aren't you sweet? But yeah, like genuinely, once you commit to being yourself,
Mm-hmm.
if you're weird, be weird all the time. Not just sometimes. Go to work weird, leave it. Now, granted, don't get yourself fired. Don't like, I don't know how weird you are, right?
Yeah.
But like, dude, when you talk to friends, like, be yourself with your friends. If you drive your friends away, good. Get rid of those friends. If you drive your family away, good. Whatever you is, for the most part, unless you're severely messed up, is gonna be okay. And not only that, people need it. People are tired of seeing the same people everywhere you go, the same talking, the same way of being. People are weird, man. Be weird. Be yourself. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not weird, be that. That's fine. We need stable people too. We need people that aren't creative. We need people that just show up and they dance. Whatever you is, be that. You don't need to be something else. You don't need to be this idea of something else. So the be yourself thing, don't do it in the way other people tell you. Please do it in the way I tell you. The world will be a better place for it. Your life will be happier. All that stuff.
Mm, good advice. Well, lastly, I wanted to just touch on this year, 2020, and obviously it's been a really tough time for everyone, whether you're a creative person or not. But I'm curious, how has, I know it's really affected what you do with Between Two Clouds because it's a community. That's the essence of what it is. So,
Right.
what have you learned from this process of having to recreate yourself, and how have you dealt with that?
Yeah. So first thing that comes to mind with COVID, and the more I understand this, the more it's like, oh my God, we were about to be actually crushing it financially.
Mm-hmm.
We were on the precipice of like making real money right at the beginning of the year. Like, I'll be full transparency. I was making like $1,000 every comedy show.
Mm. Wow.
I was about to be having like 4 or 5 a month, and really good shows that were like not saturating the brand, like really quality. And that was just my comedy shows.
Mm.
And all the other stuff is heading in beautiful directions too. Now, I think it's actually served us, but like financially, we're about to crush it.
Mm-hmm.
So we went from that to, it wasn't like that for a while either. We had to build to that. It took a while. We were about to, like, everybody on the team was about to be being able to get paid well. Um, we have to pay off debts and stuff, etc. So we had to totally revamp to be like, okay, the project can't make reasonable money now. And if we try to force money out of it, we wouldn't be able to do a good job still.
Yeah.
Because like online, it just got so saturated so quickly. Even though we did live streaming before COVID, it just got saturated so quick, and I couldn't safely bring in artists. And you lose that intimacy if you're just tuning in from like a different state. Like, oh, here's this artist in X other state. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the same because we build the environments here. So we had to shut everything down
Yeah.
and just figure out where we were at, individually. I mean, I got depressed immediately.
Mm-hmm. That's
Everything you
tough.
work towards
Yeah.
gets torn from you within a
Yeah.
few months. It's crazy.
Oh.
And then you see all the whole world react, and let's be real, most people don't care. Most
Mm-hmm.
people are trying to kill your grandma out here not wearing a mask. That's the world you live in if you're in America.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay. But it's like I had to figure out where I was at. It's like, we're doing this project that's so well intentioned that we made so much sacrifice for. How do we mesh it with a world that doesn't care?
Mm.
How do we find find the people to do, and then retain those people and have them actually stick with us to where we can get to a certain point and make it free, but still build a brand that could make money so we can eat, so we don't have to, we can just focus on it because the project needs that kind of focus.
Yeah.
So it was a lot, but what has changed is the idea of quantity or quality over quantity has really been driven home by this experience, to where even when it comes to the people I invite to, like, Between Two Clouds to you, I have a dedicated group of, like, I think it's up to 4 people now.
Mm.
Out of the hundreds, if not thousands of people I could invite, I have 4 people I invite. And I will not invite anybody else, because it's just that quality of, like, those people are really there experiencing it.
Mm.
They're really there, and then it just reflects into the art, and the musician feels more comfortable, so more comes out of them, and the
Yeah.
comedian feels more comfortable. Like the last night's turned into a therapy session
Uh-huh.
in the comedy. Seriously,
Mm.
like if you watch it, it became not comedy for a good bit,
Oh
but
man.
it was still beautiful. It was still intimate and great.
Yeah.
Not planned. It's not part of the, but because she felt so safe, and that's beautiful. It's because of like that, like quality over quantity, man. It's like I used to, I've thrown parties that have hundreds of people there, and it's been a lot of fun, and hot girls, etc. All the cliche things. We've done the cliche things, but it never felt as fulfilling as this really just high quality, intimate space with just high quality people.
Mm.
And we never would have. I don't think we've ever would have done it this way if we didn't have COVID hit. But
Wow.
finances have been tough. We've had to figure it out, and we've had a lot. We have a lot of people that privately help. They really support what we do.
So as we now look at kind of changing as a country, but also just looking towards this coming year and almost to the final end of 2020, which most of us thought would never come. Where do you, or I guess I should phrase it, do you see the entrepreneurial spirit and the aspect of creative collaboration as being part of the solution for the future or something that could build into the direction we're headed?
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, that is the solution. It's not a solution, it's the solution.
Mm.
Uh, it is very clear we cannot focus on our government setup, structure, etc. Like, dude, yeah, it's great that Biden and Kamala Harris won. They're both crap, though.
Yeah.
Out of the million, what have 330 million people in our population? That's what we got? A guy that can't remember his sentences, and somebody who got off on like putting people in jail for these like low petty crimes.
Mm.
That these are the two best. This is what we got. But they're so much better than the previous that we're happy, ecstatic even. Honking horns in the street, dude. We went downtown, not on purpose even, when it got decided.
Yeah.
People were honking horns the entire time, like
Yeah.
just nonstop. People cheering in the streets, etc. We're on that level of excitement for two pretty crappy options. It's like government's not the way to fix stuff, man. I think there's gonna be a lot of positive change compared to the absolute crap we're used to, but we're used to complete crap.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, it's going to be an improvement, but we can't rely on that for our future.
Mm.
We cannot rely on government and these systems for our future, political systems, et cetera, because they're too big to fail at this point.
Mm.
It would mean a massive revolt in every context you can think of to change it, and that is not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, business, when it comes to big corporations are only becoming more powerful. They're not becoming less powerful.
Yeah.
And just due to technology and the access to analytics and AI, they can then
Yeah.
pick apart the analytics. Whoever has access to that stuff, man, that's who has the power. And guess what? You have to have a lot of money, a lot of people to be able to do that. Corporations are going to be the ones that have access to it. It's that simple. So they're not going away anywhere. Amazon's not going nowhere. None of them are going anywhere.
Yeah.
Amazon's better than most of them.
Mm-hmm.
People rag on them the most. Like, oh, their services. Dude, I could order something that's here today. Like, they're doing something.
Yeah.
You're not just like investing money in random places and
Yeah.
making more money off it. They're actually providing
It's a
something.
good
So it's like,
product. Yeah.
look into the other companies that really are not providing much
Mm-hmm.
other than what they gain themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So entrepreneurship is 100% what needs to be happening. Because also socially, man, everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a self-serving view of how things should be culturally. Who's right? I don't know. Right? Everybody's right.
Yeah.
So doing business on the local levels really well to where you're competing on these higher levels and having really intricate systems and making a standard that you only work with people that actually care, that their products are actually caring, and not spending money on giving money to people that don't care.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody doesn't treat people well or they do shady stuff, screw their product.
Yeah.
Screw it. Let it fail. Let them fail. Stop putting people in positions of power that don't care, because all that's going to happen is once they get more successful, you think the product is good, the money they have is more impactful than that. Put people in positions of power that actually care. So entrepreneurship, doing it the right way, getting support from people that know that the right way, right? honest, you actually care, you're
Hmm.
genuinely trying to do good. So spending your money that way, working with people that are on the same page with that, not compromising as much as you can. You have to sometimes. That's
Hmm.
life. Because that's how the small changes are going to add up. That's where you're going to get hope and be able to give people opportunities to actually work for things they want to work for versus everybody just working for a massive corporation. So, and
Yeah.
the only way to compete with corporate is to be more agile, be able to move quicker, be able to uh, not expand quicker, but fit spaces quicker than a large corporation would be able to. And when you do those things, make it so beautiful that people would rather pick the smaller, less optimal product because of how beautiful it is, because of how much intention's put into it.
Yeah. And I think as well in a broader sense, if we're talking about a more societal change, I think like corporations start from being, most of them start from being just an entrepreneur, like
That's correct.
or Amazon and Apple and all these big corporations that now exist. So I, in my eyes, a big passion of mine has always been this idea of giving a hand. You give a hand down and you give a hand up, and you offer
Mm,
and you receive,
yeah.
and it's about the ego as an entrepreneurial person is a big issue, which you
Yeah.
kind of touched on, because a lot of people, and I struggle with this, when you're dealing with your own personal vision, you want to make it a thing, you want to make it a reality, you want to make it so that you have
Yeah.
all the tools. But the problem is that the people who actually get to that point of achieving that success and achieving that pinnacle then are just happy to sit on top of that, rather than looking at
Yeah.
it as this, I now have the platform, let me again look for all the hundreds and thousands of other great entrepreneurial ideas and lend them a hand up. I think that's where society has
Yeah.
failed, is because
You're
it's
right.
just these random people that have happened to get the spotlight, because it is a lot of luck when you bring it down. It's not always going to bring the cream of the crop to the top, the
Of
way
course.
society works. So it's our right as people who are maybe might achieve a pinnacle to then hand lend a hand to other people and not be too proud to receive a hand either. It's both ways.
Yeah. That's interesting you said that because man, actually, I never thought about this. So when we first started, I was always just trying to help people below me, but
Mm.
there's nobody below us.
Hmm.
So it's like we're just helping people above us, like
Yeah.
that weren't doing the same. And that was actually something that impacted us pretty negatively for a while. Is just we just were giving too much and not asking for enough.
Hmm.
Uh, so I've seen it from that perspective. Then also like now where we're at, so finances are really tough because it's just hard to make money with what we do in this time, and to be COVID safe too is just really difficult. Uh, and asking people to just donate money is just weird for me. I want to make it so where it's very much product based, but we're figuring it out. But we're in a position though that at the very least I have a platform, people that'll listen. So it's like
Hmm.
if there's somebody that doesn't have a platform at all, but they're talented, I I try to do that, but I always feel like I'm not doing enough. But you're right because people above me that could help, dude,
Aren't helping.
they don't.
Yeah.
I promise you, they don't. They don't even try to,
Hmm.
dude. What we're doing right now is so beautiful. I wish people got it, man.
Mm.
Like I wish people could be here in person too, because then it would make sense. Just in general, it's such a beautiful thing that's happening, and the little puzzle pieces are so beautiful. Some people do notice. Obviously, like we're a thing, so
Yeah.
enough people do notice. But the people that could do something about it, man, I see what they write about, what they spend their time on. It's just like you talk about. This is the kind of projects that you believe in, but like there is one here, and you're writing about crap.
Hmm.
Like I've
Hmm.
invited journalists to come out. I've invited tons. They just don't.
Hmm.
Now they will if I there's some social stuff I'll be doing when I really want them to come out. But it's like this is what they do. They have
Yeah.
made no effort to do that. They've no made effort to reach their hand down.
Yeah.
To where I'm gonna be doing some stuff to make it to where they feel very incentivized to do such.
Yeah.
But it's like the fact that I have to do that is extremely limiting. That's just my own experience. So let alone how that is in the rest of the world. You're absolutely right. I mean, I can't even imagine when it comes to like mom and pop shops getting shut down by massive
Corporate. Yeah.
companies or Facebook just buying out every company that is in relative competition.
Hmm.
Google the same. Like I think I'm sure there's some good stuff that happens there too. So I don't want to totally illegitimize that, to validate that, and invalidate that. That's the word.
Yeah, but it is a much more. I just feel like it's something we've missed, and I mean, even I was. This is kind of off topic, but even like in the education system with like huge Ivy League schools kind of hoarding all this funding and not giving it to other schools that are struggling. And there's just, I think American society specifically is such an individualistic culture and such more of the egotistical culture that,
And tribal.
yeah, that we really lose sight of what, I mean, if you want to talk about making America great, I really think it's all about really accepting this idea that we need to, the age-old ideas. We need to love others as ourselves. If I really want people above me to look down, be like, wow, your stuff is good, I want to promote you so that you can have a bigger platform, then I should also be doing that to the people that I have the
Right.
opportunity to.
And
Um,
it's a shame because you're not incentivized. Like, so I have all the opportunity to platform whatever.
yeah.
And dude, I have literally been, people tried to cancel my stuff for trying to do that, where we offered like, dude, a beautiful graphic, et cetera, services, things that cost money
Mm-hmm.
just for free because it was a good idea. A thing called German of the Triangle, it was a little jazz night, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But, and it wasn't in my knowledge, full knowledge, this person was, I guess, canceled by this other group that's supposed to care. That
Mm-hmm.
I hope some of them watch this video. Y'all can screw off. Y'all ain't that great. You know who you are. Watch this. Watch it though.
uh,
Watch it. Yeah. But anywho, we did
yeah.
it for free just because like it was supporting kids and stuff. Kids like a kind of a Big Brother program that was really good, ran by a cool cat that I know.
Mm-hmm.
And we got canceled for that. It's like, yo, we're not exactly eating perfect right now. Like we're still doing stuff below. Why aren't you doing the opposite? Like, oh, you did something for free. That's nice. Let's support that, etc. That's not the case. So it's like there's not even incentivization to help the person below you because people above you criticizing everything.
Mm-hmm.
The people that could help, well, those people are not above me, but they could absolutely make an impact on our ability to do things. And these are the
Yeah.
same people that claim they like this kind of stuff. No, they don't. They like their kind of stuff. It's like it is so individualistic, and there's some groups that, and the people that do care, they try,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so far and few in between that they have to take on so much burden and weight to help. And I have people that they continue to for like past couple of years. But yeah, that link is missing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not, but for the most part, it is me and mine. And because there's not an abundance mindset. Plus, it comes down to what people consume is mostly garbage.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to a bar, the music you're hearing is mostly horrible stuff that says horrible stuff. And if the world functioned as those songs, the world would be a horrible place.
Yeah.
And in those bars, that is how it functions. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like if that's what you're exposed to constantly, then there's such a smaller gap for like the art industry and quality art, et cetera. So everybody is fiending off of this like small piece of the meat, piece of the dinner.
Yeah.
Um, so there's so much that feeds into it that if that mindset was taken, if your mindset was adopted, it would change it. But there's no incentive for people to do that really, other than a concept or
Yeah.
an ideal.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, lastly, so kind of where this leads us, I guess, is just how can your audience, my audience, better support you and what you do? And also, a large part of my audience is musicians and creative people. So,
Mm.
is there a way that those types of people can get involved with what you're doing?
Yeah. So what we're doing right now is not everything we'll be doing. I have a bunch of ideas that 5 or 6 of them are awesome. It's just a matter of time, energy, kind of pull it off. So some of those projects, anybody, anywhere is to be able to contribute to and perform for at whatever. So honestly, just sending in your EPKs, your electronic press kits,
Mm.
staying in touch with me, connect with me. If you're an artist, a musician, whatever, if you have a skill set that you want to, I don't know, who knows, right? If you're interested, just reach out.
Yeah.
It's Matthew on Facebook. Between2Clouds is really easy to find. I see everything that comes through to those spaces. So even if it doesn't go directly to me, I see it. So just reaching out is one if you want to be connected to potentially collaborate in terms of performing whatever. Another is tuning in. If you watch this and you don't tune in every Monday at 8, dude, what are you doing?
What is your life?
What are you doing with your life? Like, see, it's free, dude. It's free. And there's nothing else like it right now. Like, if you know something like it, message me and tell me I'm wrong, dude. It's so beautiful and the intentions are beautiful. The people I'm booking, everything is amazing. What are you watching Netflix? What are you having me? I hope you're having loving sex, but let's be real, most people, it's not where it's at right now.
Mm.
So if you have nothing else going on, dude, turn in Mondays at 8 and like communicate with us, like chat with us, like, be with us. We're people, we care. It's art, man. If everybody likes music, everybody likes to laugh.
Mm.
Tune in. And I'm saying this not even for me. I honestly don't care if you tune in. I'm gonna keep doing it, and people are gonna show up or they're not. But like for you, please do. You're gonna see this thing evolve, and it's gonna become something that is really impactful for anybody that does, and your life is going to improve. So I guess I should focus on how you support us. I really think you should tune in. Mondays at 8. Between2Clouds.com/TOYOU. And then at some point, like, we're going to have these shirts that we're going to sell pretty soon that Nicolette designed. Jonathan. Oh my God. She is so talented. It is like nuts. Like hurts my brain. And she just comes up with it like that. So if you really want to support, buy things that we put out there. Because I don't want to make a donation thing. I don't want people to donate, man. I feel weird about that. I want to be able to give product.
Mm.
We might do a Patreon at some point. But just tune in Mondays at 8. Do that. Be with us. Enjoy the beautiful things. Critique us. Be like, yo, this sucks. This sucks. This sucks. This is good. I like this. This sucked. Now, you might be wrong, but it at least gives me insight of what people are thinking. Like, just be in communication with us. Be with us. Like, join the community. And joining the community just means tune in or something. I don't know. I hope this doesn't make me sound pompous, dude, but I really
No,
mean this
you're
with the best of intentions.
I endorse it too. So you know what? Yeah, go listen. And every time that I've been able to tune in, I've really enjoyed it. It's just a very it's honestly it's like a relaxing experience, as well. It's just a place you can kind of tune in and just, feel like a little part of a community. It is really nice. So, yeah, go do
Yeah.
that. If you're listening to this, go do that. Is there any last minute things you'd like to promote or share?
No, I mean, I think we got into it. Is there any
Yeah.
is there anything on your mind, curiosity wise, of things you'd like me to cover or say or?
Um, I don't. That's a good question. I mean, I love talking with you. I'm sure we could, cover
Right,
tons more
about
ground.
whatever.
Yeah. But I, yeah, I mean, I think we touched on it. I just really want people to know what you're doing. Really go check out the website. I think it's all on there, all your different things, the branches that you're doing right now, and you're planning
Yeah.
on building on. So keep tabs on that. Do you have like any sort of, I don't know, like newsletter, something that people can get updated? I know the Facebook page is
Yeah,
pretty updated on
I should add
constantly.
that again. I had that. I have like a few thousand. I should add that again, a newsletter. I should do a newsletter. That'd be a good business move. Uh,
I mean,
yeah,
just
you
stay
know what? I'm
tuned.
gonna add a newsletter
All
thing
right, there
in
we go.
the
Stay
yeah,
tuned for
that's
that.
smart. I'm gonna put it on the between2clouds.com. I don't know why I got
Okay.
rid of it, to be honest with you. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, I'll do that. On between2clouds.com, I'll put a thing you can sign up for our email list.
Cool.
And I might have some really cool stuff in there. Like specifically met a good friend of mine, Ethan.
Yeah, I'm gonna be interviewing him, and I'm
Oh,
stoked for that.
of
Yeah,
course, of
yeah.
course. He's great. He's been an avid supporter, and vice versa. We're going to collaborate on something at some point with his writing, etc. But so we'll have the newsletter set up. Follow us on Facebook. Facebook is such a crap platform for you actually seeing what we post.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
So Instagram too. I'm going to figure out a better way for y'all, but follow us on Facebook and Instagram because we do post things there.
Hmm.
The newsletter, and then you can just like add me on Facebook too, personally. At some point, I'm not going to do that, but right now it just makes sense. Message me, be like, yo, I
Hmm.
like this thing. Yo, you
Yeah.
suck. Whatever. Yo, fix your face. Grow hair, you cretin. Like, give me the feedback. I need something to work with, you know?
All right. Well, thank you, Matthew, so much for being with us today. It was such a privilege. I know we ran long, but I'm very happy to do so when it's like Just
Oh
pleasure to talk to you. So,
man, that's very sweet to say. It was a pleasure to talk to you as well, even though I talk most of the time.
no, that's what this is about. Um, well, thank you all for joining us on week 7 of Cedar Weekly. See you next week for another exclusive.
Seven's a lucky number.
It is. It's my favorite number. So, exclusive interview with YouTuber Frank James is next week. So, see you next week and have a great one.